Have you ever heard of Franken wheat? You see, the wheat we eat today has been tampered with, mutilated and transformed beyond recognition.
Wheat is probably the #1 culprit, destroying more bodies than anything that I know about, including sugar.
Now, the crux of the problem is that today's wheat is way different and potentially harmful compared to the wheat our ancestors were eating.
It's much more likely to initiate autoimmune processes.
And for some people, this will be allergic rhinitis. For other people, it'll be a skin reaction. For many people, it'll be a gut reaction that resembles irritable bowel.
And if that wasn't bad enough, wheat's also been associated with triggering schizophrenic episodes and other nasty things like sending your blood sugar skyrocketing worse than a candy bar or pure white sugar does.
Your simple, healthy sandwich has 8 teaspoons of sugar.
And for men, it can do a right number on your hormones, leading to the dreaded man boobs. You might find this surprising, but your loaf of bread is more of a lab project than a wholesome farm product. Wheat's undergone a facelift since the 1960s when modern agriculture got involved. Not a simple makeover, we're talking serious scientific meddling, crossbreeding, hybridizing, chemical mutating. Wheat's been subjected to all of this and more. Wheat also poses as heart healthy, full of B vitamins, but in reality, it might be the worst driver of heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, and obesity. You see, big food and agricultural companies prefer you don't know this dark side of modern wheat. Much like how the tobacco industry managed to pull the wool over the public's eyes, despite the damning evidence of the health risks of smoking, is big food playing the same game to shield wheat, the darling of the food industry?
Certainly the food industry has far too strong a voice. And it's using some of the same tactics as the tobacco companies have used over the years.
Sow enough seeds of doubt, and the concerns surrounding wheat could simply vanish.
But a lot of people here don't eat gluten because someone in their yoga class told them not to.
And how much bread can you eat in a day and still lose weight?
I eat about a whole loaf a day.
They wanted me to eat more wheat bread.
And also bread. You get fortified bread with B vitamins. Folate helps with memory cells, and B vitamins help keep kids alert.
However, despite what the media might say, some research is now hinting at chilling connections between the proteins found in wheat and a host of conditions. Think psychological imbalances, depression, diabetes, and even autism.
The unlucky ones are when it's your brain, or your heart, or your liver.
This is the story of the dark side of wheat. To truly comprehend the potential health risks of gobbling down wheat at the rate the USDA would have us do, we need to delve into the dicey history of wheat. See, wheat's played a vital role in feeding the world's population since the dawn of agriculture. However, the story of wheat has a controversial history. Cast your mind back to the mid-20th century, when a certain scientist named Ancel Keys managed to scare the pants off health authorities about the perils of saturated fats. And what did this lead to? A stampede of low-fat food products where wheat took center stage. Think breakfast cereals, pastas, ready meals, desserts, snacks, you name it. Big Food couldn't believe their luck. These wheat-heavy products were not only dirt cheap to make, but they also outlasted their full-fat rivals on the shelf. But guess what? Ancel Keys' theory sparked some serious eyebrow-raising. Accusations flew that he had selectively plucked data to support his anti-saturated fat stance.
It is built on faulty data. It is built on information where Ancel Keys cherry-picked information that he thought fit the model that he wanted to create.
Others even branded his research as flawed, deceitful, and responsible for the spike in obesity and health issues plaguing us today.
Ancel Keys definitely did a lot of harm to our society by convincing people that they should be on a low-fat diet. It's a devastating idea.
He was clearly very biased in his belief that fat was unhealthy. He disregarded so much research.
And yet, despite the controversy, Keys' theory somehow gained momentum in the 1970s. Powerhouse health organizations like the American Heart Association started telling us to steer clear of saturated fat and load up on grains, wheat included. But is all this wheat really a problem? Well, for starters, we can't even digest wheat properly, which might explain why so many people suffer from wheat-related health problems. Wheat's ancient ancestor, einkorn, was genetically and nutritionally distinct from the wheat we eat today. For generations, wheat remained unchanged until modern agriculture got involved in the 1960s. Wheat was then exposed to crossbreeding, hybridizing, chemical mutation. And as a result, today's wheat is now packed with an assortment of proteins like gluten. And here's a sobering thought. You might think wheat only affects those with celiac disease, but the reality is far more unsettling. You see, wheat is loaded with other proteins, not just gluten. And a lot of people react to these proteins too, and most doctors don't even know how to test for them. Think about this. How many people could be experiencing skin rashes, bloating, arthritis, and even depression, and have no clue it's thanks to their morning toast? But here's the real kicker. You could react to wheat proteins but digest them just fine while your brain suffers. You see, some research suggests that gluten sensitivity can manifest solely with neurological dysfunction. No gut problems, just your brain taking a beating. Think brain fog, fatigue, memory loss without a single upset tummy to blame it on. One study found that in some individuals, gluten sensitivity has been shown to manifest solely with neurological dysfunction, while another study stated that neurological manifestations of gluten sensitivity can occur without gut involvement. But here's the thing, while all these findings are enough to set off alarm bells, there's conflicting evidence that confuses people. Take this recent Australian study, for instance, which confidently proclaimed that wheat is just fine, stating that no effects of gluten in patients with self-reported non-celiac gluten sensitivity. But here's the hitch. This study only surveyed 37 people. That's hardly a representation of the global population, is it? Plus, they only looked at digestive issues, completely ignoring the many other ways wheat can wreak havoc. And if that's not enough, the study was funded by George Weston Foods, one of the big wigs in the wheat supply chain in Australia and New Zealand. On the flip side, a study by the American Medical Association stated that celiac disease and non-celiac gluten sensitivity are common. So what's the truth? Well, here's what's important to understand. Wheat is a cocktail of proteins, including the likes of gliadins and glutenins. But most allergy testing only picks up on alpha-gliadin, a subtype of gliadin that affects people with celiac disease. But the plot thickens. People react to other types of gliadin proteins too, which standard testing conveniently overlooks. And wheat doesn't just contain gliadin. It also contains a protein called wheat germ agglutinin, a natural pesticide in the wheat, and when given to mice in pure form, it ravages their digestive tracts. And it's indigestible to humans, which alone should raise a few eyebrows. In fact, some experts even believe it might be toxic to our digestive system.
And the wheat germ agglutinin is highly toxic, even in minor quantities, even in milligram or even microgram quantities. It's a very potent gastrointestinal toxin.
Moreover, wheat germ agglutinin might even meddle with our hormone regulation and the gallbladder and pancreas, vital organs in the digestive process. The consequences? Well, shoddy nutrition absorption that only makes a bad situation worse. But sadly, the effects of wheat don't stop there. Here's a chilling observation that went back to World War II by Dr. F. Curtis Dohan. He noticed a peculiar pattern. Hospital admissions for schizophrenia plummeted when wheat was in short supply. But as soon as wheat was back on the table, schizophrenia cases climbed back up again. Dr. Dohan continued his research on the impact of wheat and schizophrenia and was able to replicate his findings in a clinical setting. Now, although wheat certainly is not the cause of schizophrenia, it may play a role in worsening the condition for people that have it. But just when you might think that's quite enough problems, there's more. Wheat could be addictive. Dr. Christine Giadrau, the National Institutes of Health, stumbled upon the wheat opiate-like effects. Here's what happens. When you consume wheat, your body can't break down its proteins properly, leaving behind tiny chains of amino acids called polypeptides. You might be surprised to learn that these polypeptides are ominously named exorphins, thanks to their morphine-like effects. Once these exorphins sneak into the bloodstream and hit the brain, they bind to morphine receptors, the same targets as those dangerously addictive opiate drugs do.
Bread stimulates endorphins. It gives you this euphoric feeling.
and they can actually have other effects in your brain that stimulate an inappropriate appetite.
If I take wheat or the gliadin protein, feed breakdown opiates of wheat, I don't get high, I don't have pain relief, I only get appetite stimulation.
The impact of wheat on your brain might be alarming, but wait until you hear about its link to causing man boobs. But before we get to that, let's first shine the spotlight on the potential blood sugar disaster lurking in every wheat-filled meal. Some experts claim that wheat could be the #1 driver of diabetes, and also heart disease, obesity, and autoimmune conditions. And if you want to learn why, then make sure to get free instant access to the Longevity Code documentary series, featuring dozens of doctors and health experts from around the world, and packaged into 7 episodes of exclusive video footage. Plus, you'll also get digital copies of The Art of Sleep and the Obese Brain books. Just click the link in the description below now. In a cruel twist of irony, diabetics are often told to munch on healthy whole grains to manage their blood sugar levels. But this so-called healthy advice might be making matters worse. You see, researchers at the University of Toronto stumbled upon a shocking revelation in 1981. Whole grains jacked up blood sugar levels worse than plain white sugar did.
Right.
You see, amylopectin A, a carbohydrate hidden in wheat, transforms into sugar when it meets enzymes in our saliva, sending blood sugar levels through the roof. So it's not just the pesky proteins in wheat causing chaos, the carbs join in on the party too. And high blood sugar is nasty. It causes high insulin, which is our body's cue to hoard fat, often around the organs, resulting in dangerous visceral fat. And visceral fat isn't just your everyday fat, it's a ticking inflammatory time bomb.
This fat you're looking at is visceral fat. It doesn't just sit there, it truly is toxic goop encircling all of your organs. It's increasing inflammation. It actually secretes chemicals that increase inflammation throughout your body.
And men with visceral fat might be in for a surprise. You see, visceral fat has a real knack for converting testosterone into estrogen, leading to the growth of breast tissue and the dreaded man boobs. But wheat's impact isn't only skin deep. Remember our friend gliadin? This protein can do a number on your gut lining too.
That gliadin, which is a protein that makes up part of gluten, found in wheat, barley, and rye, gliadin induces leakiness of the gut, or what we call increased gut permeability, in all humans.
You see, when we eat, our body only lets necessary particles transition from the gut into the bloodstream. This process is tightly controlled to prevent harmful substances from sneaking through. Zonulin is our body's gatekeeper protein, which decides when the cells lining the gut should open. But here's where wheat throws a wrench into the works. Gliadin, a protein in wheat gluten, triggers zonulin to open the floodgates, letting partially digested wheat proteins and bacterial particles flood into the bloodstream. But surely this is no big deal, right? Well, your immune system might disagree. It sees these trespassers as enemies and launches an all-out immune attack. What does this look like? Well, in some cases, it can be arthritis, Hashimoto's thyroid disease, skin rashes. The list is long. A study that looked at this concluded increased intestinal permeability after gliadin exposure occurs in all individuals. The bottom line is, modern wheat has been changed over time, making it hard for us to digest its proteins fully. This can lead to elevated blood sugar, unwanted man boobs, and brain and digestive troubles. Does this mean everyone should avoid wheat and go on a gluten-free diet? Well, health decisions are personal and you should consult with your doctor. Just don't be tricked into anything labeled gluten-free, as it might be brimming with sugar and preservatives. And remember, wheat doesn't affect everyone the same. A basic celiac test might not cut it. You might need to get more extensive testing for reaction to other wheat proteins, so make sure you seek the right advice. If you enjoyed this video on the potential health risks of eating wheat, then make sure to check out our video, Fertility Killer, where we reveal shocking revelations about how the chemical industry could be the driving force behind the current infertility crisis. Just click the image on the screen now.